first beer on planet Earth.
Congratulations.
What it's called.
Good to see you.
Ms. Ault. Here. Mr. Bodkin.
Here.
Ms. Durbin.
Yes.
Dr. Fellner.
Here.
Mr. Ivy.
Yes.
Mr. Richard.
Here.
Ms. Ziegler. Here.
All 7 members of council are here and present. As you notice, I am up here again tonight. Mr. Watt is not with us. Can I have a motion to excuse?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Ivy made a motion.
I'll second that
Dr.
motion.
Fellner, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Watt is excused for tonight, and he will join us in the near future. Julie, the elected officials here.
Mayor O'Leary. Auditor Satterfield. Director Blau Palmer.
Here.
Treasurer Sparks. Safety Service Director Ward. Here.
We have one item on the agenda tonight that did not go through any committee. It's resolution 2022-2. I have a motion to add it. Dr. Feller made a motion to add.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Ault. Yes. Mr. Bodkin.
Yes.
Ms. Durbin.
Yes.
Dr. Fellner.
Yes.
Mr. Ivy.
Yes.
Mr. Richard.
Yes.
Ms. Ziegler. Yes.
Resolution is added at 7-0 vote. Next is the motion to approve the amended agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
We have a motion on the floor, a second by Ms. Durbin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The amended agenda has been. Next, I passed over it, my apologies. You've all received the minutes from our last meeting of the 25th. Is there any corrections, additions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes. Mr. Bodkin will make a motion, second by Ms. Durbin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes have been approved. We have one individual that would like to speak to council, Richard Jones. Please step up and please state your name
Richard C. Jones,
and your address.
address
Yes, please.
224 Grove Avenue, Gallion, Ohio.
Thank you.
This issue is basically can involve all of us. It's a matter of having, consideration for each other. But anyway, what it is, and I'm sure probably most of us have dealt with it here in town, is burning trash. There's a lot of trash being burned around town, and I've spoke to Eric Baldinger about it, and of course I know that if the police are called out, they can tell them put it out or call the fire department and give them they're allowed to give them a ticket for it, but you got to catch them. That's the problem. These people have burn rings around town, and you can drive, and I'm not out here trying to nitpick people. It's just a fact that it's going on. But you go around and see these burn rings, and they've got, there's stuff in these burn rings that's not supposed to be being burnt. I know it's legal to burn seasoned wood, but it has to be seasoned wood. And, a lot of this stuff's being burned late at night. And they're not out there in this weather cooking hot dogs, so, but anyway, I don't know, this might be stretching a little bit further, but I don't know, the only way I know maybe you could stop it is to make them just get rid of the burn rings. If they wanna cook, let them have a cooker. You know, most people got cookers anyway. But, you know, and I know people like to have campfires. You know, that's, you know, I don't have a problem with good smelling wood. I think it's, you know, it's a good thing to have that. But how you gonna stop it? I don't know. That's why I'm up here. You know, I come home, I go out with my brother's, I might leave his place at 10, 11 o'clock, and I can smell it. It's plastics, and you know, it's you know it's not wood. Anybody knows what wood smells like. So that's my thing. I don't know. Maybe you guys can. I don't know if the EPA would do anything about it. I mean, I don't know how you'd. Individually, maybe you could put something in their electric bill or something to maybe let them know, you know, wake them up a little bit, let them know that it's something they shouldn't be doing. You know, it's not healthy. It's just not healthy. You know, I leave my windows open in the summer, and you got this stuff coming in, and you know, it smells pretty bad. You know, and I've got some lung problems, and it doesn't help that any. You know, when you got to smell that stuff. So, anyway, and also another issue here is people leading their dogs around. I love animals. I don't have a problem with animals. I had a dog when I was a kid, you know, but they're leading their dogs around town and they're letting them dump everywhere else but on their own yard. And, you know, they make a special plastic gloves and people can pick up. Now, some of them I've seen them pick it up, you know, and but for the most part, they're not doing it. They're just, but I know in the bigger cities, they get caught. It's a pretty big fine to do that. And I don't appreciate going out in my yard and stepping in that stuff. And, you know, so I got an issue next door to me, and I did talk to Eric about it. And the guy shoveled a path just for, you know, he didn't, so the dog, he lets the dog out. And just like today, I looked out there, because I live right beside him. I'm not out there searching for trouble, you know, but there's 3 or 4 piles out there right now, right in the middle of the sidewalk, and there's people who have to walk down through there. You know, you'd have to stumble over it, and so it's just disrespectful. I don't get it. I don't understand why people act like that. I guess I don't know. It's not like he's perfectly capable of cleaning it up, but I'm going to try to talk to him. He told me before, me and him had talked before about issues, and I told him, he said, well, come and talk to him if I had problems. So I'm going to try once more and talk to him, but I hate to, you know, go farther as far as having the city have to go to him, but I will, you know. Like I said, I've lived there for years, never had this kind of trouble. This guy moves in and all of a sudden, you know, the trouble starts. And he's got trash that needs cleaned up. He won't do that, and he's been in trouble for that. So I don't get it. But anyway, it's just some of those issues. It's just a matter of respecting one another, you know. So, okay, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Is this a public sidewalk that he cleaned
Yes,
up?
absolutely. Yeah, it's right on Grove Avenue, right sidewalk.
And the burn rings, I agree with you on that. But a lot of people don't know that you just can't set them on the ground. My neighbor did last summer and he had a fire.
Oh, okay, wait a minute,
burn
we're on, you're talking about the burn rings.
Right.
No,
But he
no,
was- yeah.
no,
But
no,
he
he
was-
don't,
He was burning trash in his too until I told him he couldn't do that.
okay. No, I'm talking about people, they've got burn rings in their backyards.
Well, this was in his backyard. yeah.
Okay, yeah, you got burn rings all over town. They're almost in everybody's yard. And like I said, some people are burning wood, and that's okay. You know, like I said, I don't have a problem with
But
that.
you're right, you can smell, you can tell the difference.
Oh
in the
my
smell,
gosh,
yeah.
it's horrible. Some of it's just horrible what they're, but like I say, they know better because they're doing it at night. They wait till, you know, wait till they think nobody's around, and so they light these fires. Now, I know the police will come and tell them put it out, but they weren't allowed to give them a ticket, but I think they changed that so now they can get a ticket for it. If the police, before the police couldn't do it. The fire department said they can't do it, well, they can do it. It's on the books, but they just wouldn't do it, they just go and put it out. And, you know, but, you know, there's, I think, didn't you say there's laws or something on that, Steve? There's ordinances on that, on those issues.
Right.
The police department down there, they have the paperwork on it, so, and the fire department also has it, so.
It's against the EPA regulations.
Yeah. So, something needs to be done. I'm just telling you, it's, you know, I think some of the people, they know, that's the whole thing of it is, if they knew there wasn't anything wrong with it, or if they thought, they wouldn't be doing it late at night, you know, so they know. People are not stupid, they know better. And like I said, I don't smoke, but I don't care if they wanna smoke, but they can afford a pack of cigarettes, they can afford a garbage man. So, you know, some of them are probably smoking 2 or 3 packs a day, so, you know, and amongst other things, so, anyway. But,
Well, I think this issue, and Mayor O'Leary knows this, periodically rears, you know, every couple of years, it rears its ugly head. So
Yeah.
it's been a problem in the past, and I agree with you, I live in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
I take my dog out in my yard, and I can tell the difference between somebody heating with wood on the corner there and
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
burning. What you need to do is, I mean, the more often that the police are called or the fire department is called, and it's a shame because it's a waste of our,
Oh, yeah.
you know, service department, our safety forces,
Sure.
especially in weather like this where, you know, you don't want the fire department to go out on a ridiculous call like that when, you know, somebody could be having a problem. But the more times that an authority shows up at the door and knocks, whether they,
Yeah.
you know, warning first time, warning second time, they'll get the message. So I would encourage you to call and
Yeah.
and let the, you know, the cops go out. Whether
Sure.
they catch him or not, you're right. And maybe they don't have enough, but if they tell them about it,
Yeah.
you know, if they hear enough about it,
Well, let me add this too, and I think this could really help. If the electric department could put a notice in their electric bill, I mean, it wouldn't cost them any more when they send the electric bill out to have a notice in there about
I think
burning
that's a great
trash,
idea.
you know?
I really do. I
You
think
know,
that's
sometimes just
something
a
that we
little
can-
bit of a wake-up call and then put
Sure.
in there the consequences
Sure.
for doing it too, you know. It might shake them up, at least some of them, may not all of them, but, you know, but I agree with what you just said too, is if other people see they're in trouble for burning, the neighbors are gonna
Right.
take wind of it
Exactly.
and stop it
And,
too.
I-
so.
you know, I had to do the same thing in, you know, my neighborhood, and it eventually stopped. I don't know if the guy moved out, but I really sympathize with your problem.
Yeah, like I said, it lands on all of us.
Sure.
You know, we're all in this town, we all gotta live together, it's just a matter of respecting one another. You know, when you live this close in, I mean, you know, you can almost hear them flush the toilet. You know, the ones of us that live that close, you know, not all of us, but a lot of us do, so, anyway.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rich.
All right, thank you
Thank you.
guys.
Yep.
Oh, hey, I have some, and I don't think I got enough, but if anybody's interested, these, I got it in the mail, and this is legitimate, you guys could even look it up. It's on voter fraud, they're trying to get a task force, this fellow, to, you know, have people at the precincts to watch over them, you know, so, you know, whether, I don't know that Guy's ever had that problem, but I believe we have a real problem in this country with voter fraud, and so, anyway, if anybody wants one of these, you know.
Come up here. Thanks.
Okay, there might not be enough, I only printed up 10 of them, so.
Okay, thanks, Rich.
Let's go ahead and move on to legislation. First thing, ordinance 2022-6. This is the second reading.
Ordinance number 2022-6, entitled ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to provide American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds to the Avita Health Foundation for an inpatient dialysis program and declaring an emergency.
You've heard the reading of the ordinance. Discussion. Dr. Felder.
Yes, we discussed this at length last meeting. I don't believe that Mr. Cangelosi was here at the last full council meeting. You came. So he's was invited, and he's the director of the Avita Health Foundation, and I wondered if he could. He presented something to the committee through which this ordinance came. So I was wondering if he might stand and say a few words and then take some questions.
Yes, please. I'm sorry I didn't introduce you.
Okay. Hello, I'm Chuck Cangelosi. I direct the Avita Health Foundation, so thanks for having me here this evening to talk about one of our priority projects of the foundation that we've been working on for the last 6 months, and that is to raise the necessary funds so that from an inpatient perspective, the hospital, Ontario, Galion, and Bucyrus could take on responsibility for our own inpatient dialysis program. And so we've been diligently raising money since September, and our focus today and what we presented before council back in 2021 and updated in early 2022 here is trying to finish off raising the money for 2 additional dialysis machines for Galion Hospital. Each one runs $26,000, and so here, seeking your support, to be able to continue to move forward and raise the money necessary to evolve that program. So, as some of you, as I've had a chance to mention to some of you, we've been successful in the fundraising effort so far. It's been a combination of grant making. It's been a combination of employee giving. It's been a combination of grateful patient giving, where we've accumulated the funds now for 4 out of our 6 machines. And again, got an early jump on this in September. I'm glad we've gotten to this point, and we have reached out to just recently another grant making organization here in Galion for the other machine, and so feel confident for that. So I think we're getting close to the finish line, and obviously I hope that you agree that Avita Health System and the foundation rightfully can ask your consideration for support to make this happen. Obviously the purpose of wanting to take more responsibility for inpatient dialysis, it became apparently clear to us, throughout the last 18 months of the pandemic, that when sick patients came in the hospital needing dialysis, it's a much different situation than on an outpatient basis. So staffing, supplies, being able to maintain the equipment, calibrate it, clean it, do all those things make a difference to the patient when you have control over what's happening. And that's what we're seeking to do. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. I'm sorry.
So Galion doesn't have dialysis?
We do. We do. We have a contract relationship with a couple of vendors. Yes. So again, our goal is to take. We collaborate on 1,100 patients here in Crawford County, right? And so those patients are always going to collaborate with the vendor and Avita on an outpatient basis. But an inpatient basis, and inpatients, people who are in the hospital for any duration of time, again, we just want to take more ownership instead of relying on a third party for dialysis treatment in the hospital. There's timing, staffing, again, all kinds of issues that we just want to have more control of, more accountability over, take more responsibility for, and we think that's in the best interest of the people that we serve, not only in this community, but in the city of Bucyrus and in those in Richland County as well, as we're doing the same thing over at Ontario Hospital.
And your patients are staying longer because of, if they're being admitted with a COVID-related, but they have these comorbidities, their hospital stay is considerably longer than it would have been under normal circumstances. And you've got just about every bed filled, and as soon as there's an empty one, I mean, my daughter works in ICU, and I think she's also getting trained in the dialysis,
Right,
because you're trying to get that staffing.
Right. And Dr. Fellner, I'll knock on wood, it's been the best day of the pandemic to today as far as people in the hospital with COVID. So it's a good downward trend. So hopefully we continue that way. But it doesn't take away from the desire of the hospital, again, to take more ownership of patient care. And that's exactly what we want to do. Obviously, many of you have been in the community a long time. You know that the Galion and Bucyrus Hospital especially, went from very limited amount of specialties and services 10 or 15 years ago. Each hospital has over 32 specialty services today. There's a lot going on. Dialysis, like heart care, our cath labs, and like cancer care, dialysis is one of those that directly, impact. It's life-saving measure, right? And so, again, that's one of the programs that we feel like as we move into 2022 here and get all our ducks in a row with our contracts and our machinery and our training and identifying techs and nurses that want to be trained in dialysis. We bring all that together in a comprehensive program. We feel like we'll be able to better serve the patients, and in this case, those that live in the city of Galion.
If we would okay this, would that employ any extra people at the hospital? Now, you talked about calibrating the machine and cleaning it.
Yeah.
Would you have your own employees do it, or would you outsource that?
No, we would have our own. We would have our own
train
people do
somebody?
it. Yes, we're going to train our own people, just like our own nurses and techs.
Yeah.
So I think eventually, we probably would add a staff that maybe just specializes, or maybe another nephrologist, possibly. It's not my alley, so I can't. My road, so right now, so I can't speak to that.
Right.
But definitely, we are going to train more nurses and techs to be able to deliver that care. So anytime, if a doctor has an order for dialysis of someone in our hospital, and they want to start that order tomorrow and run it, 3 out of the next 5 days, we can turn to any number of our own employees, to deliver that care exactly when the doctor wants to deliver it.
Thank you.
So in the past, I know you guys have so much more now than you have before, with this COVID stuff, but in the past, you guys were outsourcing, you didn't have the in-house.
So we had an agreement, and that agreement called for a tech or somebody from the outside to come into our hospital and deliver the care. So each one of the hospitals had a machine in it that was owned by the vendor. And so again, now that we're changing up and we're moving away and revisiting those contracts, we'll be having to own and maintain our own machines to make that work on the inpatient side moving forward. Yes.
How much does each dialysis set treatment cost? Like I looked on the online, like the cost estimator, I didn't see that it was on.
The treatment itself, I really apologize. I could come back with you a number, but I don't know the actual treatment cost. I'm sorry.
And so I just did a little bit of looking on just costs in Ohio, and it looks like, most patients get it maybe 3 times a week. So if a patient's on dialysis, for a year, which I know your patients will be inpatient, so it would be long term, but it's right around $1,200 per dialysis session. So it would only take 20 of those to pay for the machine. So would the costs to the patient patients pay less because the machine would be paid for with these ARPA dollars, or would it still be like the same amount of money? If that question.
I don't think so. I don't, with all due respect, I don't think the math lines up that way. But what I will say is, we're going to be starting in 2022 with taking ownership of the inpatient dialysis. I think your ordinance reads that, our plan is to develop more of a comprehensive inpatient program. So that also involves, in the future, not here, we won't be able to do here in 2022, but as we get into 2022 or 3 and 4, we want to be able to, we want to do transplant education. Our nephrologist, Dr. Liu, is just dying to do more, take more ownership of that education. We send our people the trips to Cleveland and Columbus where they choose to get their kidney transplants, for example. For that, again, we'd like to continue to evolve, which means it's Cara, correct? Cara, which means that the hospital undoubtedly will be probably reinvesting revenues in the future, as they do today in other programs. They continue to maybe to add another nephrologist, maybe to add more education materials, maybe to fund bringing transplant educators from Wexner Center, the Cleveland Clinic, or University Hospitals here to town so people don't have to travel. There could be, I can't answer specifically what those are, but I know it's been the hit pattern of leadership, and they've done a pretty good job. It's been a pretty good story to Vita so far, that they'll reinvest some of those revenues in the program to grow it and make it stronger, and I would anticipate, that's what they do now. Or that's what they'll do in the future, I'm sorry. Just happy to answer any other thoughts, questions?
Any other questions?
Is a lot of the patients, are they eligible for kidney transplants? I mean, some of them that's getting dialysis, are some of them eligible for
That's why they go through the education program. And again, we collaborate with the Cleveland Clinic, with the University Hospitals, with the Wexner Center on those. I mean, we don't do we're not certified to do any type of transplantation ourselves. But again, in terms of better coordinating that care, that continuum care plan with our patients, being more responsible for them, that's part of the vision of our nephrologists at the hospital and our leadership. Again, to be more accountable and take more ownership for, the patients that we serve. Yes, so that's part of it moving forward. Good question.
Couple of questions. One, what's the useful life? I should have looked it up, so like shame on me. What's the useful life?
About 7 years.
I think in terms of conditionality on this, y'all been around how long? 10 years?
Under the Avita,
Okay.
yes.
So, one of the conditions is that you don't know where you're going to be maybe in 7 years, and so in my view, needs to be some sort of agreement to keep it at Gallion Community Hospital.
Oh, absolutely.
Or to compensate us for that at the time you move it to Ontario. Because candidly, Dr. Bucyrus in Ontario and your presentation so many more times than Gallion. And that's an outstanding concern that I have as a Gallionite, that the growth of Avita continues to include the growth in Gallion. So that's one of the reasons I'm in favor of it. But for those of us around in 7 years, it would be, I think it should be a condition of us granting it, the council's in favor of keeping Gallion Hospital and not have it moved.
Mr. Mayor, when we receive, again, and I've been here now a little over 2 years, and so I do a lot of grant writing. And that grant writing, most grants that involve some equipment or whatnot involve part of that reporting process is to inventory it at the specific hospital, especially under rural hospital or critical access hospital category. So we do have to inventory and tag it, and we do have to follow that equipment or be audited anytime within 5 years. For example, Ohio, ODH, for example, right? If we're getting a grant from ODH, so we would inventory it as Gallion Hospital. So it would not leave our system, or it would not leave Gallion Hospital for anywhere else in the system. the machine that you would
And
purchase for.
correct me if I'm wrong, I thought I heard in the committee meeting that Bucyrus in Ontario, their machines are covered.
We have-
You got them already.
we have that already, yes.
So this is a purchase for strictly Gallia.
I understand that,
Okay.
but it's not, let's not confuse that. The city of, Bucyrus, or the city of Ontario didn't buy these with their ARPA dollars. That's not how it went.
No,
Well-
with all due respect, they didn't, but obviously we have so many projects that,
Well, I don't want to
you
go
know.
there, but I would say the city has been very friendly to
They ha-
Avita,
yes.
and I think we should continue that. But I don't want it to be understood that the other cities that he's referencing use these ARPA dollars to buy this. I don't think the city, community might have ponied up for them. The city didn't fund
That's correct.
any of those other machines.
That's correct.
And good for us if we do.
Well, yeah,
I
I'm
think.
in favor of it, but, I just think it should stay in Galleon, and I think I heard a mostly yes on that as far as inventory.
Yes,
Huh?
it'll be inventory Galleon Hospital, yes.
For 5 years.
And just like, again, the example is Ohio Department of Health,
Yeah.
or, we have to inventory those things, and at any time within a 5-year period, they could come in, audit it, make sure it's still there, make sure we're still maintaining it, whatnot.
See, I'm so bad at trying to win the argument, I'm gonna go ahead and say one more thing. But ODH, having the inventory, you change the inventory location of that, that isn't, they don't care, I care, the city cares about their scarce dollars being, transferred. So that ODH thing and all that compliance, that's not, it's compliance with, so I think I made my point.
You have.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think, I wouldn't have encouraged it to come through committee if I wasn't in favor of it, so.
Thank you.
Anyway,
I just have another question. Is there different levels of kidney dialysis? In other words, some are closer together as far as getting their treatment versus others that don't get treatment as often?
Again, I'm not a clinician by any means, so I don't want to fumble that, but most of our nephrologists are usually on an outpatient basis recommending dialysis 3 or 4 days a week.
So it's quite close together then?
Quite close together.
so, I think generally speaking, that when people had reservations before, don't say much, that I think we're gonna have trouble getting 6 votes. So I don't know, I'll apply again, but it seems to me we're short. I don't.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah, I didn't look at the figures today, what we're at, but the ARP figure that we are going to would give them as of last month when we saw the figures, or the last meeting, I'm sorry, was 10% of the ARP plan. It is less than probably 1 or 2% of your general fund. This is a need that the hospital needs this. So either way, we do have the money to do it. Personally, my son has a disease called Crohn's. He has to have an infusion twice or every other month. It costs $27,000 every other month. That is invaluable to me, and that's going to be the same thing for these people on dialysis. So he's in great health. So, I think there's a need for it that they expressed because of COVID, and I just want you to feel better about it if you vote yes.
You mentioned that there's another grant that you guys recently filed for. Is that to also help with the cost of these, or is that grant to go somewhere?
No, it's to help cover the cost of this, yes.
I wanted to get on the mayor that one of my biggest concerns, I think that was one of the reasons why, when this first came to council the first time, was the issue of, was the unit
No, no objection on my part.
I'm just throwing that out there. This is the second reading. We've had a pretty thorough discussion both times. Do we want to leave and put an amendment on it to make sure the unit stays here in Galleon? Since it's under ARPA and it's in, from what I'm gathering, that this is we're the only community as a city that is contributing to this. And I think that's a good thing, to be honest with you. I think it's also a good unit in the sense of having it. But I want to make sure that we protect the citizens in that regard.
I don't feel an amendment is necessary, but if that's what we want to do, I have no objection to it. I think that if that were the case, that Mr. Palmer be given the time to create that language and let this go to a third reading. And I think we should, kind of, if tell everybody how we supported it, how the city, whereas we don't have to say the others didn't, but I think it's a point of pride,
Yes.
not foolish spending of tax dollars.
Mr. Chalmers is correct there. We do need this, I believe, but I'd like to see it read it's going to stay here as eternity of its life. That way we don't let it get out of hand and go somewhere else. I think that's the right thing to do. And if everybody, I think that's the way we feel about it, the way I see it right now. So I think we let Mr. Palmer, yes, go ahead.
Question. Suppose you decide in a couple of years that you want to incorporate all of these dialysis machines in one center because you're expanding at Ontario and you acquired property around the area here. So then it might eventually, could possibly go out of Galleon. Just a scenario. So then would he have to come back to council and say, I'd like to take my machine to Crestline?
Perhaps, I mean, I don't know that for a fact. That's
If we're
one
gonna
of
give- if we
a
wanna give-
thousand scenarios that you could possibly
If we're gonna
imagine.
give the money to him, the hospital should use it to their best advantage.
Correct, and if that means moving it off-site, then perhaps, but, I don't know.
Does the machine clean only one person at a time? Or is that just a one?
What's that? I'm sorry. I missed.
One person at a time machine, yes.
Okay.
So it's not like, I think Bucyrus, now they have several machines in their clinic over there, don't they?
No, one.
Just one machine?
Excuse me.
How long does it take to,
Excuse me.
how long does it take to?
Again, I'm not the clinician, but about 3 or 4 hours, I would imagine, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit less. I don't have the exact number, I apologize for that.
Well, I'll leave this up to you folks. Chuck, we appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
being here.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you for all the information. So, what do we want to do? This is the second reading. We can wait till the third reading. I'm sure that's not an issue. So, have Mr. Palmer draft as Mr. Bodkins indicated, or we can go ahead and vote. What's the opinion of the council? I think I'm
options that I talked about. One is an amendment that simply would require it stay in Galleon. The other one is some sort of agreement with Avita that it would stay in Galleon. It was referenced before by Mrs. Durbin, what happens if it, in other words, it moves out of Galleon and violates that agreement. There would be something in that agreement that would say perhaps that the city would be reimbursed or something like that. That would not be possible if you just put it in as an amendment in the ordinance. So I just want to be sure what I'm drafting. Now, what I could do is draft both of those and have them for you for the next council meeting, and you can vote on which one you like. But I'm just trying to make sure that we're on the same page.
I have a thought on that. While I agree that if we were to pass this, that we need to have either an amendment or an agreement for it to stay in Galleon, going along with her question too, if they do expand and move everything to one location and it's not here, I'm kind of torn on whether or not that they need to, I don't know, I just like if they have to move it, if they're expanding that much and they're trying to make one split location, I mean, I don't feel like I have too much of an
Let me add this to this conversation real quick.
I would say you do all both, and then we can look at it, and we can decide.
Again, the only reason I brought that up was the fact that this is public money, as opposed to the various other entities that have contributed to those and secured those units at other areas. So that's the only reason I'm a little more mindful of keeping it here in Galleon. With that, I think we should move on. Mr. Palmer,
No, that's fine.
okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the next ordinance, 2022-9. This is likewise the second reading.
Ordinance number 2022-9, entitled ordinance authorizing the safety service director to advertise for bids and to enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder, therefore, as provided by law for the Park Square project to proceed authorizing payment therefore and declaring an emergency.
You've heard the reading of the ordinance.
Again, this came out of economic development about 3 weeks ago, and just a quick review, there was a $100,000 grant that was obtained to help the uptown area and the areas that are needed to be addressed, and the main question was where the other $50,000 was going to come from. And with that, I would ask the mayor if he was able to look into that, or Nikki, or that was the primary question.
There, that would be amended.
I'm so sorry.
So, it might be the paper you're writing on.
The answer to the question is because.
The general fund, thank you.
It's gonna come,
Not it.
The general fund.
it's gonna come from the mayor's budget, which is funded out of the general.
I would like some more information on this project. I know it includes the trees and some work on the gazebo.
I don't think we did repair a lot of stuff at the gazebo. We went over this a couple weeks ago. It's largely to relay the foundation, remove and replace the trees which are causing the problem with the unlevel surface, and put new plantings in. That's the short of it. How many weeks has the plans been in the office?
6 to 8.
Okay, that's all right. Derek?
And the mural is the 50,000?
We expect to be able to have the mural included in the money that I expect would be, going to be passed.
Okay, and will the mural be on that whole wall?
That's the plan.
Okay.
Didn't you have a picture you passed around earlier?
Yeah, I
I'm
showed
sorry.
one to Kara. I mean, it's like, you can pass it around. I like the left side of it. But the rest of it it's got some room for improvement. Cows and a country road and a barn.
Well, this is beautiful, but it doesn't depict Galleon.
We may agree, we should count the times we agree over I don't think it's ready to go, Don.
Okay, kids.
It's got some room to grow. I like the Hosford Mill, or what seems like the Hosford Mill. The rest of it is head scratcher, so.
I think a shot of the downtown in about 1900 or 19, before the war, before World War II, with people that depicts Galleon.
Yeah, I sort of agree with that. One of the things that people who have looked at it and thought about it a little bit, we don't want to look like the knockoff version of what Bucyrus has done. So if you think about that is, you know, regionally renowned as a really nice mural. That's kind of what they did there with that. So I think that's my own opinion. I also think that's some of the stuff that came from Mo Taylor about being cautious not to do that. Anyways, we're not there yet. I guess would be my thoughts, and so everybody go home and
Where's that mural gonna
sketch
be?
up one. It'd be on the old Continental Cable / Spectrum / Tom Hoywick new building.
By the gazebo. There's a false brick wall there now. You know where I'm talking? In the uptown at the gazebo?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So maybe I'm a little crazy, but, Guyon's pretty known for, you know, several years ago, several years ago, pretty known for the equipment and stuff that was made through big machines, so, and we've done that at the park. Would it be awful if we had something, even if it was something small?
My opinion on that is and I think Doc made kind of a jestful comment about that. I don't think this says greater on it, but I do think one of the eras of Guyan that we're known for and still is the railroad. So I don't know, some locomotive or something that I wouldn't want to just have a knockoff either of the Ranella Cottage or of the depot. And have walk 2 blocks one way, you can see it, you don't have to see the picture of it, but something that recollects that railroad era, sort of struggle with 3 panels or 4, so I like the idea.
And tonight, we're just voting on the budget, not to do something.
Yeah, right.
How about a collage of machinery, a collage of the railroad, a collage of the downtown? It's a pretty big wall.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I don't know quite how to handle it. Some people want to come in and spend, or go someplace and spend an hour or so with the local artists we've contracted with. I'd rather have her describe her reaction to that stuff. We bounced a few ideas off and.
Well, she is gonna do a rendering before she,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so talk to her about some of these ideas. She's thought a lot about it. We talked a little bit at sort of one conversation at least about a seasonal kind of metaphor where you had a winter season, a spring, that kind of thing. Although it looks big when you start to divide it up, those areas would be real large. So anyway, we're working on it, but as Kara said a minute ago, that's not like the ordinance of the house.
Well, I just wanted to reiterate that, tonight is, are we gonna fund this or aren't we gonna fund this? The details can come later, so.
Needs the amendment. If someone needs to make the amendment, I gave you all the parts in yellow would need added.
Okay, you had a
I just
question.
wanted to apologize, I didn't see the amended coming out of the general fund, and my other question is that, once the final rendering comes out, will that be a council decision, or will that
heck
be?
no.
Oh, no.
I don't
Because
know.
that's, after what I saw there, it's kind of spooky, but
Yeah,
no cows, please.
I think anybody who wants to talk with her is a good thing, and I believe she's open to that, so let
But
us know. if you
I
want
guess
to
my question is who's gonna say that's the one? Will that be
It'll be,
you?
it'll be a collaborative decision.
Couldn't do my favorite thing, a survey.
We could do a survey.
There you go.
Hey,
Survey
there we go.
monkey.
You know, I think a serious answer to your question is feedback from the seven of you and
Fair enough.
kind of our own judgment.
Fair enough.
Once we get some alternatives, I wouldn't want to put this on our website. You know, that would be like distracting, you know, a guy in Bates Crest Line or something.
Fair enough. Thank you.
There are other issues that we got to deal with, but I think we'll evolve it and we'll put you in touch with Mo if you want.
Well, we need a motion,
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend ordinance 2022-9 by adding the phrase "and general fund," parentheses, 101-7020-52317 to section 2.
heard the motion, is there a second? Second by Ms. Hall.
Dr. Bellmer?
Yes.
Ms. Ault?
Yes.
Mr. Bodkin?
Yes.
Ms. Durbin?
No.
Mr. Ivy?
Yes.
Mr. Richard?
Yes.
Ms. Ziegler?
Yes.
The motion, or the change passed 6-1. Back to the original ordinance, since we've been, we're waiting the bid and you have the plans already to do that, I have a motion to suspend the rules on this.
No, that was.
Totally.
Or do we want to hold it off for another week?
I still would like more information, I'm sorry. This doesn't tell me anything.
In terms of what?
What kind of trees and what are you gonna do with the perennials that are up there? Are you tearing the islands out next year or is that this year?
I'll start by repeating myself, Mr. President. Those plans have been in the office for 6 or 8 weeks. I need more questions.
I didn't know they were in the office.
Well,
You had
it was
questions
announced
about the project.
at least 2 weeks ago that, you know, I mean, this is the funding plan, not the discussion for, the plans are drawn up. I mean, you can go and,
That's fine.
I mean, I agree, you know, your need for more information, but, you know, just kind of getting back to the ordinance, this is the funding ordinance, not, you know, not the details of the plan. It's like, do we want this project to be funded? Yes or no? Can I make a motion, Mr. President Pro Tem?
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and proceed to the final reading on amended ordinance, sorry, what's my number, Julie?
2022-9.
On amended ordinance 2022-9.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Ms. Hall, second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Bellmer?
Yes.
Ms. Ault?
Yes.
Mr. Bodkin?
Yes.
Ms. Durbin?
No.
Mr. Ivy?
Yes.
Mr. Richard?
Yes.
Ms. Ziegler?
Okay, suspension of rules passed 6-1 vote. Dr. Feldman?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to pass amended ordinance 2022-9.
We have a motion on the floor. Mr. Bodkin, second. Discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Bellmer?
Yes.
Mr. Bodkin?
Yes.
Ms. Durbin?
No.
Mr. Ivy?
Yes.
Mr. Richard?
Yes.
Ms. Ziegler?
Yes.
Ms. Ault?
Yes.
The ordinance passed 6-1 vote. Moving on to resolution 2022-2.
Resolution number 2022-2 department heads and safety service director, and approving then and now certificates for said expenditures and declaring an emergency.
You've heard a reading of resolution, discussion. This didn't come through a committee. Our auditor would like to maybe pick this up.
This comes in the form of a request for a purchase order for chemicals from, I believe, last year. One of the bills that we found that the wastewater treatment plant needs to get paid is over the $3,000 threshold. And we're just asking for you to pass this resolution so we can pay it.
Wastewater?
Wastewater filtration.
Water.
That's water?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. That's right. Because Doug put it into it. If you look at the back page, there is a copy of the VIP.
We put in as wastewater.
Yeah, the reason it's in there is because Doug is acting as opposed to the water and wastewater. Doug isn't in our system as slash, so he's in there as the wastewater superintendent. Not a 601.
Out of the 22 appropriated.
If there's no questions, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules on resolution 2022-2 and move forward with final reading.
We have a motion on the floor to suspend rules. Mr. Ivy, second by Mr. Watkins. Roll call.
Mr. Ivy?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Ms. Durbin?
Yes.
Dr. Fellner?
Yes.
Mr. Richard?
Yes.
Ms. Ziegler?
Yes.
Ms. Ault?
Yes.
Okay, the suspension of rules passed 7-0. Moving back to the original resolution. Dr.
I'd like to make a motion to pass resolution 2022-2.
Motion passed by Dr. Felder, second by Mr. Watkins. Discussion. Roll call.
Dr. Fellner?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Ms. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Ivy?
Yes.
Mr. Richard?
Yes.
Ms. Ziegler?
Yes.
Ms. Ault?
Yes.
That, the resolution passed, 7-0. And that's the last of the, legislation. Moving on to other business,
Thanks, Ash.
committees. Anybody want to start us off?
Go ahead.
We have a Parks Committee meeting tomorrow at 7 o'clock here.
Economic development next Tuesday, the 15th at 7 o'clock.
Finance Committee, here, 7 o'clock on the 16th.
Streets on the 10th, but we're not sure yet.
The streets, alley, street and bridges is on the 10th. I haven't checked with you if you had anything yet, but I will do that tomorrow.
That's all right, thank you.
With Police Fire Department, the health committee meeting on the 17th at 7.
Anybody else? Moving along to, elected officials report, auditor status.
Thank you. Everyone should have a copy of the report generated. The first page is the revenue report. If you look month to date, we are 485,000. Revenue year to date, 2.5 million in revenue generated or collected. All revenues are posted and are current. Page 2 is our expense report. Again, this is as of 6:30 tonight. Monthly expenses, 406,794. Year to date, 1.16. On the expenses that we've paid, there are still a lot of bills that we need to get paid, and we're working diligently on that, along with a lot of other things. But that's gonna change here shortly, Jamie, before we start to pay some bills along with this. The next page is, what I do is I did the same thing that I did last meeting for you, is a statement of cash position. The first page there is at the end of the year, 2021, so you still see what the
statement of cash is. These numbers are gonna change slightly as we go along and do our reconciliations. We're doing the transfers every month to month with that, what we're seeing at the end of the month and doing transfers. I'll tell you here in a minute about June, and part of that was we did some transfers to clear those months out, so that month out, so that the fund balances were in the black. So then the last pages are the to-date cash position. I would not be alarmed, because if you look at the 2021 and the ending balances, and you look at the beginning balances of the last one, beginning balances all show zeros, because we haven't closed out the year, therefore we don't have transfers from the ending balance into the beginning balance. So I think we take the ending balance with the new balance, that kind of gives you an idea where we sit currently with cash. I will finish up, and then I'll answer any questions. Yesterday, at about 3:30 p.m., I was able to finally get June reconciled. That will be given to Rod after the meeting or in the morning. Payroll and operating account have been reconciled for June of 21, and today I was able to reconcile the payroll account for July. And in the last couple hours, I was working on the operating account, so we're getting there. Cindy McCaffrey from the state was up with us on Monday. We spent all day again doing that and got that taken care of. So we are moving forward inch by inch, month by month, but we are not going to jump around and throw numbers in November, December, when we need to concentrate on July. So mornings we're working on making sure that we're getting the revenues and everything put in, we're getting the invoices in, and then I was told to lock myself in the office and work on reconciliation for the next 3 weeks. So I'm trying desperately to do that. It's taking time. August will be easier than July, September will be easier than August, because I know what I'm looking for and how the process goes. So we are making progress. Like I said, you should have all got emails today with the closeout of June. As soon as Rod approves the reconciliations that I have downstairs, I will scan those and get them out to you as well, so you see the actual reconciliations. Questions?
Treasurer's Department.
I don't have too much, just, Brian and his office have done a great job. I think, I'm probably saying it ahead of time, but this process will get better and better, and, eventually sometime this year we'll put this in the past, and we'll be doing good, so, I want to thank Brian, his professionalism, and all the people in the office that have done all the work, everybody, the mayor, and everybody too. Mayor's office. And want to thank the people that work, the city workers, for all the hard work they did. We didn't have any electric problems, the roads were done. I was in Columbus today on some off-roads, and I thought I was in Jamaica sled race, so 2 inches of ice. And so, hats off to our workers here. I did have one question. I did read the paper about the electric fund. Mary, you said that we were losing $300,000 a month. Is that correct or not? I don't, just from what I read. So I might be wrong.
I think that if you want to get engaged in these kinds of things, you should come in the room so you can ask questions.
I'm sorry.
My patients are worn with people watching this stuff.
Okay.
With no context, and then making comments. So
I'll talk to you on the side.
There is since you brought it up, I'll say me saying anything when it comes to my turn. There is a recommendation consistent with the ordinance. You should read that. make members initially. That's all I got to say about it. Okay. Again, I've had no contact about those numbers from any of the three of you, so I'm really highly frustrated. It's not, no, I'm just trying to say, it's not something, any of, no, I was gonna say, I'll just go there. It's not something, I think it would be a mistake to cause this to turn around, and it will pretty quickly. The mayor's increase, and we're on the good side. We have a responsibility. I'm not gonna lecture much, but it's more like the board of directors. It's a tough thing to represent constituents, but you have an obligation to make sure that we raise enough revenue to pay our bills. And the biggest bill is about $1 million a month. And we have been, without adjusting the PCA, we're collecting less than our power bills. And so, that you can't go on, so.
I agree with you totally.
Some people in this room are for old, low-income people, and some people aren't. If we've made a mistake, those of us who've been around for a while, we have kept rates below where they would be to improve water and sewer funds. And so so take a look at that. That's all I'll say. The PCA,
No, I agree with you. We have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that we have the right rates, so.
yeah, I can't spell that word, so I won't use it. But anyways, there is a recommendation, and the notion of waiting till the books are reconciled to follow the consultant and AMP's recommendations. Well, I don't know, Brian's doing a hell of a job, but I don't think he is going to pull something out of reconciliation that's not there. There's no money that was not charged that's sitting somewhere in a fine. So you start looking at the encumbrances, you're going to be serious about this, you start looking at the encumbrances, and you'll get a better idea of what encumbrances are going to shake out. And we're doing that every day, even the mayor is doing that every day. But, so I have confidence in the fund balance at the end of the year. A little bit of that's going to come off, but this idea that you have to wait until several months from now to see what you can see is that our collections per hour are not they're not covering our costs.
Right. I agree with you that that cost could be more down the road, so that's,
No, it's gonna be.
yeah, so.
It's gonna be. We didn't collect it in August of last year, so we have to pay for that. And
I agree with
I'm blue in the face. The power bills in mostly December, but in November and December were much higher than anybody anticipated. I've said that a couple of times. Not anybody has asked me like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? How high? So before we just say no and want to be the ratepayers' friends, we're not doing them much of a favor if we aren't covering our costs. And if you want to wait till reconciliation to find out, gee, we eroded the electric fund balance. That's, you know that right now if you do some homework. I'm responsible for directing a reduction from about $10 million in the electric fund down to around 6 or so. I think that's probably where we'll sort out at the end of the year. So we've kept the rates as low as possible, and I'm not going to get into some sort of situation where I'm the big rate increase, taking money and now he wants to take it back. I'm not going to put up with that.
I didn't mean it that
Oh,
way.
okay.
I honestly, that's what I got.
Just stick to the thing.
Shouldn't we wait for this to get through to committee and go through full council before we have this discussion? Ideally. It's the first I've heard of this, so I don't even know what we're talking about.
Right.
How is
Oh, my lord.
What's, going on with this new grid they're trying to, get us into? I get it in the mail, about the windmills, I guess that's what it is. They're wanting people to, you know, buy into this, new windmill thing or whatever.
It's really good, Rick, it doesn't really, I don't think it affects us that much. I do, one thing, I want to comment on one here, so, one thing about that is people are getting solicited through the mail at home to jump the grid and go with aggregators, and that's really, misinformation. You feel bad about it when you hear people are being phone solicited for that. But that's, I don't know about jumping off the grid.
What I'm saying is though, it's like these, you know, just like other companies are pumping their gas into our gas, you know, into Columbia Gas in this. So these other companies are pumping their electric into our grid. Is that gonna cut in on Galleon's,
No, we're not in the gas business.
No, I don't mean gas. I'm talking about, okay, I'm kinda jumping around. But I'm saying this electric business, is that gonna cut in on Galleon's profits on?
No,
on
we don't,
electric?
no. I was gonna start another lecture about profits. I haven't seen profits in electric for a while. But anyway, I think that, I apologize that conversation about the PCA wasn't brought up, but I think the more that the overall council is, so anyways, I'm really hopeful that the utility committee will look at that and vote that out, and then y'all want to talk about it then. But I think it's a very important issue, and so.
Nothing this evening.
I've already sounded out, apparently not heard, but anyways.
Okay, the other thing I was gonna add was I was gonna piggyback on, Mr. Sparks. I think the, road crews and our folks that handle all the storm that we had did an outstanding job. I see them coming down, roads that, when the snow was still coming down, they're trying to keep ahead of it. So, I think they did an outstanding job. Dr. Miller?
Well, and this is kind of an unknown, they had water main breaks, they had, what else, Ms. Ward? I mean, while they were trying to do that, they're still attending to the emergencies that, you know, come up. So, I mean, you talk about above and beyond, they really did. And while I was by my fireplace, you know, these guys were out busting, so.
Oh, yeah, and I totally agree. I didn't know about the other, and it's a good thing you mentioned that, because most of the folks that might be watching didn't know about that either, so.
They let it bleed. They let some of those bleed, because there's like, it's in sort of the worst time. So some of the water line, they were breaking, they didn't seem to be causing any, road flooding. So, those people tracking, unmetered water loss, there you go. Have fun with that.
I think they did a great job, in everything they did, and I don't think they get enough, praise, and that's the reason why I wanted to make sure we mentioned that. And with that, I have a gentleman, Mr. Buck.
No, I just wanted to say I had a couple of complaints about the plowing, and I said, I went down and looked at it, and I said, well, if you'd moved 10 cars off the side of the street so the plow could get through there, you probably wouldn't have much to complain about. So, you know, you got to cooperate with everything, or it won't get done. But thank you, they did a great.
They'll be out at 4 o'clock, again, so those people who sleep late or get up early, and somebody's out there working again, so they're out at 4 o'clock. There are a couple of blocks of uptown, excuse me, that didn't get completed. The Elks, that was pretty cool. Those people who lamented tearing down that building, I don't know where we would store all that snow if we weren't piling in that new lot. The other thing that's gonna happen tomorrow, as got a message from Jennifer Allerding about a particular corner where the snow was piled up. It was a school bus stop. So we're gonna get that one taken care of first thing tomorrow, and then I believe they forwarded a list of other school bus stops that they've got feedback from bus drivers, pardon me. So we're gonna try to go out and do that after the commercial area gets done. I'm bad at this, I don't care. One more thing that we did that I think made a difference. What day was it? Friday, everybody was calling Thursday, help me. Friday. Matt was taking the calls, I was just hitting him with a stick. We were getting a lot of alley plow requests. So instead of taking the position, we'll get to you when we, by June we'll be there. We peeled off one of the pickup trucks that was doing parking lots, really wasn't, and we dispatched those specifically to those alleys. Now that is for the folks that watch this or pass. I mean, that isn't an invitation to call in and sound like a little old man on the phone. I can't get my car out. But we tried to do that because not everybody's access to alleys is as consequential. Some people get out other ways. So I think we'll keep track. Better than the bad snow. We'll probably deploy getting ready for those complaint calls instead of putting them on this imaginary list. So I don't know if anybody got a response from a constituent that said they showed up right away. That's kind of why that happened. Green in your neighborhood. Everybody called, it's really a main alley, it's not a street. Anyway, thank you for listening.
Well, as I noticed, it's getting late. Do we have a motion?
I got one other thing.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second by Mr.
Yes.
Ivy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.